The phone's vibration against the nightstand pulled Nadia from sleep. She reached over instinctively, her hand finding the buzzing device in the darkness. The screen's harsh light made her squint. An unknown number glowed at 2:17 a.m. Her husband Terence lay beside her, sleeping soundly. Too soundly. The kind of deep sleep that came from exhaustion or perhaps a clear conscience. Nadia would soon learn it was neither. She should have let it ring. Should have shaken Terence awake and made him deal with whatever middle-of-the-night emergency this was. But something in her gut, some instinct she couldn't name, made her swipe to answer. Hello. Her voice came out rough with sleep. Silence stretched for 3 heartbeats. Then a woman's voice, calm and measured, spoke words that would destroy everything Nadia thought she knew. Put my husband on the phone. Nadia's brain stuttered. The words made no sense. She looked at the phone again, confirming she had answered Terence's cell, not her own. I think you have the wrong number. No. The woman's voice carried absolute certainty. I have the right number. That's my husband's phone. I know because I pay the bill. Now put Terence on the phone. We need to talk. The room tilted. Nadia sat up, her heart suddenly pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. Who is this? I'm Simone, Terence's wife. The woman said it simply, as if stating a universally known fact. And I'm tired of the lies. I know he's there with you. I tracked his location. So please just put him on. Nadia's hand trembled. The phone felt impossibly heavy. His wife? I'm his wife. We've been married for 6 years. The silence that followed was different. Shocked. Then the woman, Simone, laughed. But it wasn't a happy sound. It was the laugh of someone whose worst fear had just been confirmed. 6 years? Simone's voice cracked. 6 years? We've been married for 3. We live together. We have a home. He comes back to me every night. That's impossible. But even as Nadia said it, pieces were clicking into place. The business trips. The overnight shifts. The new apartment he claimed was a work rental for late nights. You're lying. Am I? Simone's voice turned sharp. Check his wallet. There's a photo of us from our wedding. Check his car. There's a parking pass for our building in the console. Check his laptop. The password is our anniversary, October 15th, 2022. Nadia's breath came in short gasps. October 15th. She remembered that date. Terence had been gone that entire weekend, claiming a work conference in Atlanta. She had been home alone, trusting him completely. I need to go. Nadia's voice barely worked. Wait. Simone's desperation bled through. Is he there? Can I talk to him? Please. I need to understand. Nadia hung up. Her hands shook so badly she nearly dropped the phone. She stared at Terence, still sleeping peacefully, his face relaxed in the dim light filtering through the curtains. This man she had built a life with. This man she cooked breakfast for every Sunday. This man who held her when she cried about losing her mother 2 years ago. This stranger. She reached over and shook his shoulder. Terence. Wake up. He stirred, mumbling something incoherent. Terence. Harder this time. His eyes opened slowly. Babe? What's wrong? He reached for her but she pulled back. Your phone rang. She held it out to him. Someone named Simone called. She says she's your wife. The change in his face was instantaneous. Sleep vanished. His eyes went wide, then darted to the phone, then back to her face. His mouth opened but no sound came out. That reaction told Nadia everything. It's true. She said it flatly. Not a question. Nadia, wait, let me explain. He sat up quickly, reaching for her. It's not what you think. She knew where you were. She said she tracked your location. She told me about photos in your wallet and a parking pass in your car. Nadia stood up, needing distance. Tell me she's crazy. Tell me she's lying. Terence ran his hands over his face. The silence stretched too long. When he finally spoke, his voice was small. I never meant for this to happen. The words hit her like a physical blow. Nadia stumbled back against the dresser. Oh my God. It's real. You actually married someone else. It's complicated. He stood, reaching for her again. Don't touch me. She jerked away. Don't you dare touch me. Please, Nadia. Just listen. His voice took on a pleading quality. I can explain everything. I made mistakes, but we can fix this. We can work through this. Fix this. Her voice rose. You married another woman. While married to me. How exactly do you fix that? It was stupid. I was confused. Things with us were rough a few years ago, remember? You were dealing with your mom's illness and I felt shut out. I met Simone at a work event and things just happened. The words tumbled out faster now. But it doesn't mean anything. You're my real wife. You're the one I love. Nadia stared at him. This man who could stand here and minimize a 3-year marriage to another woman as things just happened. This man who could watch her grieve her mother while secretly building an entire other life. Get out. Her voice came out steady, cold. Nadia, please. Get out. She pointed to the door. Take your things and leave. Right now. It's 2 a.m. Where am I supposed to go? He actually had the nerve to sound offended. I don't care. Go to Simone. Go to a hotel. Go anywhere. But you're not staying here. She grabbed his pillow from the bed and threw it at him. Get out of my sight. Terrence stood there for a moment, seeming to calculate his next move. Then his expression shifted. His shoulders slumped and tears filled his eyes. Baby, please. Don't do this. I love you. I've always loved you. I made a terrible mistake, but we can get through this. 6 years of marriage, that has to mean something. 2 hours ago, those tears would have broken her heart. 2 hours ago she would have believed them. But now she saw them for what they were. A performance. A manipulation. You have 5 minutes to pack a bag and leave, or I'm calling the police and telling them there's an intruder in my home. She picked up her own phone from the nightstand. I mean it, Terrence. Something in her face must have convinced him she was serious. He grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and started throwing clothes into it. Nadia watched, her arms wrapped around herself, as this man she had shared a bed with for 6 years packed up like a stranger checking out of a hotel. He paused at the bedroom door. This isn't over, Nadia. I'm not giving up on us. There is no us. There never was. I just didn't know it. She turned away from him. Lock the door on your way out. She listened to his footsteps down the hall, the rustle of him grabbing more things from the living room, the jingle of his keys. The front door opened and closed. The lock clicked. Nadia stood alone in her bedroom, in the home she had thought she shared with a faithful husband, and felt her entire world crumbling. She looked down at his phone, still in her hand. Without letting herself think about it, she unlocked it. The password was their anniversary. Or at least, the anniversary she knew about. The home screen showed a photo of Terrence. But he wasn't alone. He had his arm around a beautiful woman with dark curly hair and a bright smile. They were both dressed formally, clearly at some kind of event. The woman wore a white dress. Nadia's knees buckled. She sank to the floor, her back against the bed, and stared at the photo. The woman looked happy. Genuinely, radiantly happy. She had no idea she was the other woman. No idea that the man she loved, the man she married, had done the exact same thing with someone else. For a long moment, Nadia thought she might be sick. Her stomach churned and her vision blurred with tears. But she didn't cry. Something cold and hard was forming in her chest, pushing back against the grief and shock. She opened the phone's photo gallery. Hundreds of pictures filled the screen. Terrence and Simone at restaurants, on vacation, opening Christmas presents. In a kitchen Nadia had never seen, cooking together and laughing. There was an entire life here, documented in photos, happening parallel to her own. She found the calendar app next. Appointments, dates, reminders. Dinner with Simone's parents. Pick up dry cleaning from apartment. Anniversary dinner reservations. The apartment. Nadia pulled up the Maps app and checked recent locations. An address in downtown, at a high-rise building she had driven past 100 times, appeared over and over. The same address Terrence had once told her was a company rental for late work nights. She scrolled through text messages. Loving exchanges between Terrence and Simone. Photos sent back and forth. Plans being made. Can't wait to see you tonight, baby. Missed you at work today. Love you more than anything. Her own text thread with Terrence was there too, mixed in with all the others. The same words of affection. The same promises. The same lies, just told to 2 different women. Nadia stood up slowly. Her legs felt weak, but her mind was clearing. The shock was fading, replaced by something sharper. She walked to the bathroom and splashed cold water on her face, looking at herself in the mirror. Her brown eyes looked back, red-rimmed but dry. She had loved Terrence completely. Given him 6 years of her life. Supported him through career changes and family drama. Been faithful and trusting and true. And he had betrayed her in the most fundamental way possible. But as she stared at her reflection, Nadia made a decision. She wasn't going to fall apart. She wasn't going to beg him to choose her. She wasn't going to compete with Simone for scraps of a lying man's attention. She was going to be smart about this. Nadia walked back to the bedroom and picked up Terrence's phone. She connected it to her laptop and began backing up everything. Photos, texts, call logs, location data. All of it. Evidence of his double life, carefully saved and documented. By the time the sun rose, painting the bedroom in shades of pink and gold, Nadia had copied everything she needed. She had also searched their bank accounts on her own phone and taken screenshots of every transaction, every unexplained charge, every withdrawal that now made sickening sense. She should have been exhausted. Should have been crying. Should have been a mess. But instead she felt strangely calm. Focused. The man she loved was gone, but maybe he had never really existed in the first place. What she was left with was the truth, and the truth could be weaponized. Terrence thought he could manipulate her. Thought he could sweet-talk his way back into her life with tears and apologies. He thought she would be the same trusting woman who believed his lies for 6 years. He was wrong. Nadia sat on the bed, surrounded by printouts and files as morning light filled the room. Her phone buzzed with a text from Terrence. "I'm so sorry. Please let me explain everything. I love you." She didn't respond. Instead, she opened her laptop and searched for divorce attorneys in her area. The 2 a.m. call had shattered her world. But from the pieces, Nadia was going to build something new. Something that belonged only to her. And Terrence would learn that the woman he betrayed was far stronger than he ever imagined. Nadia sat in the bright morning light of her kitchen, coffee growing cold in the mug before her. She hadn't slept after Terrence left. Couldn't sleep. Her mind kept replaying moments from their marriage, searching for the truth hidden beneath 6 years of lies. When had it started? When had the man she trusted become someone she didn't know at all? She remembered the beginning. Meeting Terrence at a friend's barbecue 7 years ago. He had been charming, funny, attentive. He worked in medical equipment sales, traveling occasionally but nothing excessive. They dated for a year before he proposed on a beach in Mexico, getting down on one knee as the sun set behind him. Their wedding had been small but beautiful. Nadia's mother had been healthy then, dancing at the reception and pulling her aside to whisper, "You found a good one, baby. Hold on to him." The memory made Nadia's chest ache. If only her mother knew what Terrence really was. The first year of marriage had been happy. They bought this house together, a modest 3-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood. Nadia had been working as a graphic designer at a marketing firm. Terrence's sales job was going well. They talked about children, about the future, about growing old together. When had the lies begun? Nadia pulled out her laptop and opened a new document. She needed to write everything down while it was fresh. Track the timeline. Understand when her real life had ended and this false version had begun. Year 2 of their marriage. That's when Terrence's travel had increased. He explained that his company was expanding, that he needed to cover more territory. Oklahoma City, Tulsa, sometimes Dallas. He would be gone 2 or 3 nights a week, but the money was good. They needed it if they wanted to start a family. Nadia had believed him. Why wouldn't she? She had no reason to doubt her husband. Year 3. Her mother's cancer diagnosis. Nadia remembered those months in vivid detail. The doctor's appointments, the chemotherapy sessions, the slow deterioration of the vibrant woman who raised her. Terrence had been supportive, or so she thought. He came to some appointments when he wasn't traveling. He held her when she cried. He told her everything would be okay. But now, with cruel clarity, Nadia remembered other things. How Terrence always seemed relieved when she told him to go on his scheduled trips, that she could handle her mother's appointments alone. How he rarely offered to change his plans to be there for her. How he would disappear for entire weekends, claiming work obligations, while she sat in hospital rooms watching her mother fade. October 15th, 3 years ago. Simone had said that was their wedding date. Nadia pulled up a calendar on her laptop and traced back. That weekend, her mother had been in the hospital with complications from her treatment. Nadia had stayed by her bedside for 3 days straight. Terrence had texted that he was stuck at a conference in Atlanta, that he couldn't get away, but he was thinking of her. He had been getting married to another woman. The realization made Nadia's hands shake. She gripped the edge of the kitchen table, forcing herself to breathe. While she sat terrified that her mother might die, while she held her mother's hand and prayed and cried, Terrence had been exchanging vows with Simone. He had been smiling for wedding photos. He had been celebrating. She grabbed Terrence's phone, which she had kept despite him texting from another number asking for it back. She scrolled through the photos again, looking at them with new understanding. There was Simone in a white dress, simple and elegant. Terrence in a dark blue suit. The ceremony looked small, maybe at a courthouse or a simple venue. But they both looked happy. And loved. How had he managed it? How had he maintained 2 marriages, 2 homes, 2 completely separate lives? Nadia started digging through their financial records more carefully. She pulled up bank statements going back 3 years. Their joint account showed regular deposits from Terrence's job. But the withdrawals, now that she looked closely, showed a pattern. Large amounts transferred to a personal account she didn't have access to. When she had asked about it before, he said it was for business expenses that he got reimbursed for later. She checked their credit card statements next. Charges at restaurants she had never been to. Hotels during times he claimed to be staying with work colleagues. Purchases from stores in parts of the city she never visited. And then she found it. Tucked into his email, which was still logged in on the laptop they shared. Lease agreements for the downtown apartment. In his name and Simone's. Rent paid monthly, split between them. The apartment was real. The other life was real. Nadia's phone rang, making her jump. An unknown number. She answered cautiously. Hello? Is this Nadia? A woman's voice, different from Simone's. Older. Yes. Who is this? My name is Patricia. I'm Terrence's mother. Pause. I think we need to talk. Nadia's mind raced. She had met Terrence's mother twice. Once at their wedding and once at a brief holiday visit. Patricia lived in Texas and they rarely spoke. Does this have something to do with last night? Terrence called me this morning. Crying. Told me some story about a misunderstanding. Patricia's voice was stern. But I did some digging. Called some people. Found out some things. And I need to know the truth. Did my son really marry 2 women? The directness of the question caught Nadia off guard. Yes, he did. I found out last night when his other wife called. Patricia was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was thick with emotion. I raised him better than this. His father and we taught him right from wrong. I don't know what happened to my boy, but this is not okay. This is not who he should be. Did you know? Nadia had to ask. About Simone? No. God, no. If I had known, I would have driven up there and dragged him back to reality myself. Patricia sighed heavily. He brought a girl home for Christmas 2 years ago. Said her name was Simone, that they were serious. I thought he had divorced you. He told me you two had split up months before, that it was amicable. I believed him. Another lie. Another betrayal. 2 Christmases ago, Nadia had stayed home because her mother was too sick to travel. Terrence had gone to Texas alone, claiming his mother specifically asked for just him because she wasn't feeling well and didn't want to overwhelm her with visitors. Nadia had spent the holiday in a hospital room, while Terrence introduced another woman to his family as his new partner. I'm sorry. Patricia's words pulled Nadia back to the present. I'm so sorry for what my son has done. There's no excuse. No explanation that makes it right. No, Nadia agreed quietly. There isn't. What are you going to do? Divorce him. As fast as the law will let me. Good. You deserve better. Patricia paused. If you need anything, if you need someone to testify or provide information, you call me. I'll help however I can. What Terrence did is wrong and he needs to face consequences. They talked for a few more minutes before hanging up. Nadia added Patricia's contact information to her growing file. An ally she hadn't expected. The rest of the day passed in a blur of research and documentation. Nadia called in sick to work, unable to face the pretense of normalcy. She made a list of divorce attorneys, checking reviews and success rates. She backed up more files. She went through every drawer and closet in the house, looking for evidence she might have missed. In the back of Terrence's closet, she found a small box hidden under old sweaters. Inside were 2 wedding rings. Not the one he wore for her. Another set. His and hers. The engraving inside read, T&S Forever, October 15, 22. Nadia photographed them and added the pictures to her evidence folder. She found a second wallet tucked into a jacket pocket. Inside was a driver's license with Terrence's photo but listing the downtown address. Credit card she had never seen. And photos. Simone at the beach. Simone laughing at a restaurant. Simone and Terrence kissing. More evidence. More proof of the double life. By evening, Nadia had filled a notebook with timelines, dates, and observations. She had printed relevant documents and organized them into folders. She had screenshots and backed up data saved in multiple locations. Her phone buzzed with another text from Terrence. Please talk to me. I know I messed up, but I love you. We can fix this if you just give me a chance. She blocked the number. Whatever Terrence had to say, she didn't want to hear it. Not yet. Not until she had her legal strategy in place. Instead, she called the first attorney on her list. The receptionist answered and Nadia explained, briefly, that she needed to file for divorce due to her husband's bigamy. There was a pause, then the receptionist put her through to the attorney directly. Mrs. Wilson? This is Janet Okafor. I understand you have an unusual situation. That's putting it mildly. Nadia's voice was steady. My husband married another woman while still married to me. I found out last night and I want out as soon as possible. I see. Can you come in tomorrow morning? 9 o'clock? We should discuss this in person. I'll be there. After hanging up, Nadia made herself dinner, though she barely tasted it. She moved through her evening routine on autopilot. Shower. Pajamas. Sitting in bed with her laptop still going through files. She found an email chain between Terrence and someone named Brian. A coworker apparently. In the emails they joked about Terrence's situation. Brian knew. He knew about both wives and thought it was funny. Living the dream, one email read. 2 women and neither knows about the other. You're a legend, man. Nadia's jaw clenched. This wasn't just Terrence's betrayal. He had people helping him. People who thought destroying lives was entertainment. She added Brian's name to her notes. Maybe he would be relevant later. Maybe not. But she was documenting everything. Around midnight, exhaustion finally caught up with her. Nadia closed her laptop and turned off the lights. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, acutely aware of the empty space beside her. For 6 years Terrence had slept there. She had trusted the sound of his breathing, the warmth of his body next to hers. All of it had been a lie. But Nadia was done crying. Done being the victim. Tomorrow she would meet with her attorney and start building her case. She would take Terrence apart systematically, legally, thoroughly. He had underestimated her. Thought she would be too heartbroken or too weak to fight back. He was wrong. As Nadia drifted toward sleep, her last thought was clear and cold. Terrence had declared war on her life the moment he married someone else. He just didn't know it yet. But he would learn soon enough. Morning came with harsh sunlight through the bedroom window. Nadia dressed carefully for her attorney meeting, choosing a green blouse and black pants. Professional. Put together. Not the broken woman Terrence probably expected her to be. The law office was in a renovated building downtown, all glass and modern furniture. Janet Okafor met her in the lobby, a tall woman in her 50s with short natural hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Mrs. Wilson. Thank you for coming. Janet's handshake was firm. Let's talk in my office. They settled into chairs across from Janet's desk. Nadia pulled out her folder of evidence, organized and labeled. Janet's eyebrows rose slightly as she reviewed the contents. You've been thorough. Janet looked up from the documents. This is excellent documentation. Photos, financial records, communication logs. You've built a strong foundation for your case. I want him to have nothing. Nadia's voice was steady. Is that possible? In cases of bigamy you have significant leverage. The law doesn't look kindly on someone maintaining 2 marriages simultaneously. Janet made notes on a legal pad. We can pursue divorce on grounds of fraud and bigamy. We can go after assets, petition for alimony if applicable, and ensure you're protected financially. They spent 2 hours going through everything. Nadia explained the timeline, showed the evidence, detailed the financial intermingling. Janet asked questions, took notes, and outlined a strategy. One thing I need to ask, Janet said carefully. Have you had any contact with the other woman? Simone? No. She called once that first night. I haven't spoken to her since. Good. Keep it that way. Janet's tone was firm. I know it might be tempting to reach out, to compare notes or commiserate. Don't. Anything you say to her could complicate things legally. She's not your ally in this situation. I have no interest in talking to her, Nadia said honestly. What Terrence did to her is not my problem. I'm focused on protecting myself. Smart. Now, I'm going to file the divorce papers today. Terrence will be served within 48 hours. I expect he'll want to negotiate, try to minimize the damage. We're not negotiating. We're going to hit him with everything we have. Nadia felt something loosen in her chest. Relief maybe. Or vindication. Thank you. One more thing. Do you know if Simone is aware that her marriage isn't legal? That she's not actually his wife in the eyes of the law? Nadia paused. She hadn't thought about that. I don't know. We never got that far in the conversation before I hung up. She's going to find out soon. When Terrence gets served with divorce papers listing you as his legal spouse, it's going to become very clear that her marriage is void. Janet tapped her pen against her notepad. That's not your responsibility to manage, but be aware that she might try to contact you again. If she does, I won't respond. Perfect. Stay focused on your own case. Let Simone deal with her own situation. After leaving the attorney's office, Nadia sat in her car for a long moment. She felt lighter somehow. Taking action, moving forward, it helped. She wasn't just drowning in betrayal anymore. She was fighting back. Her phone buzzed. Another text from a number she didn't recognize. "This is Terrence. Please stop ignoring me. We need to talk about this. You're being unreasonable." Unreasonable. The word made anger flare hot in her chest. She had discovered her husband was a bigamist and she was being unreasonable for not wanting to discuss it? She deleted the message without responding. Instead of going home, Nadia drove to the downtown address she had found in Terrence's location history. The apartment building was modern and expensive looking, with a doorman and garage parking. She parked across the street and waited, not entirely sure what she was looking for. 20 minutes later, a woman emerged from the building. Dark curly hair, athletic build, wearing scrubs. Simone. Had to be. She matched the photos from Terrence's phone. Nadia watched as Simone climbed into a silver sedan and drove away. A normal woman living a normal life, having no idea that everything she thought was real was built on fraud. Part of Nadia felt a twinge of sympathy. Simone was a victim too, in a way. But sympathy didn't mean Nadia owed her anything. Simone had unknowingly participated in destroying Nadia's marriage. Whether she knew it or not didn't change the damage done. Nadia took photos of the building, the address clearly visible. More documentation for her file. Over the next few days, Nadia fell into a routine. She went to work, functioning on autopilot through meetings and deadlines. She came home and continued her investigation. She documented everything she found. She avoided Terrence's calls and messages, letting them pile up unread. On the third day, a process server delivered the divorce papers to Terrence at his job. Nadia knew because Janet called to confirm. "He's been served. We should expect a response soon." That evening, Terrence showed up at the house. Nadia heard his key in the lock and realized she needed to change the locks immediately. He walked in as if he still belonged there. "You had me served at work." His voice was tight with anger. "Do you know how humiliating that was? Everyone saw." "Good." Nadia didn't look up from her laptop. "Now everyone knows what you are. This is my house too. You can't just kick me out and pretend I don't exist." "Actually, I can. The house is in my name only. I bought it before we married. You have no legal claim to it." She had verified this with Janet. One thing at least that Terrence couldn't take from her. "You need to leave." "I'm not leaving. We need to talk about this like adults." Nadia finally looked at him. Really looked. He needed a shave. His shirt was wrinkled. He looked tired and stressed. "Good. There's nothing to talk about. You married another woman. I'm divorcing you. That's all there is. It's not that simple. You don't understand the whole story." "Then explain it." Nadia crossed her arms. "Tell me the whole story. How did you justify committing bigamy? How did you keep track of all the lies? Help me understand how the man I trusted for 6 years became someone who could do this." Terrence ran his hand through his hair. "It got complicated. Things with you were hard after your mom got sick. You were distant. Unavailable. I met Simone and she made me feel valued again. So it's my fault." Nadia's voice was flat. "My mother was dying and I became too difficult, so you married someone else. That's your explanation." "I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying the situation was complicated." "It's not complicated, Terrence. You're just a coward who wanted 2 lives because one wasn't enough." Nadia stood. "Get out of my house. If you come back without permission, I'm calling the police." "You can't do this." "Watch me." She pulled out her phone. "You have 60 seconds before I dial 911. Terrence stared at her as if seeing someone he didn't recognize. Maybe he was. The woman he married would have cried. Would have begged for an explanation. Would have tried to fix things. That woman was gone. "You've changed." He said it like an accusation. "No. I just finally see clearly." Nadia started counting. 50 seconds. He left, slamming the door behind him. Nadia immediately called a locksmith, paying extra for emergency same-day service. 2 hours later, the locks were changed and Terrence's key was useless. That night, Nadia's phone rang from another unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Hello? Is this Nadia?" Simone's voice, hesitant and strained. Nadia almost hung up, but something made her stay on the line. "Yes. I need to talk to you. Please. Just for a few minutes. My attorney advised me not to speak with you." "I know. But please. I found out today that my marriage isn't real. That I'm not actually married. That everything I thought I had with Terrence is a lie. Simone's voice broke. I need to know. Did you know about me? No. I had no idea until you called. How long were you married to him? 6 years. Simone made a sound like a sob. 6 years. Oh God. I feel so stupid. So blind. How did I not see it? Nadia felt that twinge of sympathy again, but she hardened herself against it. I can't help you, Simone. I'm dealing with my own situation. You need to handle yours. I'm not asking for help. I needed to hear your voice. To know you're real. That this isn't all some nightmare. Pause. Did you love him? The question caught Nadia off guard. Yes, I did. Me too. Simone's voice was small. I really loved him. I thought we were building a life together. I thought I knew him. So did I. Nadia surprised herself by being honest. But we both loved someone who doesn't exist. The real Terrence is whoever could do this to two people. That's not someone worth loving. Are you divorcing him? Yes. Papers were already served. I can't even do that. I was never actually married. My wedding was a sham. A performance. Simone laughed bitterly. I wore my grandmother's dress. Had my family there. Thought it was the happiest day of my life. And none of it was real. I'm sorry, Nadia said and meant it. But I can't talk to you anymore. It's not good for either of us. I understand. Thank you for answering. For being honest with me. Simone hesitated. For what it's worth, I had no idea about you. If I had known, I would never. I know. Nadia cut her off. Goodbye, Simone. She hung up before Simone could respond. Then she blocked that number too. Jenna was right. Simone wasn't her ally. Wasn't her friend. Wasn't her problem. They were both victims of Terrence's lies, but that didn't create an obligation between them. Nadia needed to focus on her own healing, her own future. She couldn't save Simone. Could barely save herself. And she wasn't going to try. 2 weeks passed. Nadia moved through her days with mechanical precision, building her case and protecting herself while Terrence spiraled. She knew he was falling apart because he couldn't help but show her. Desperate texts from new numbers she immediately blocked. Emails that went straight to a folder Janet monitored. Messages passed through mutual friends who didn't understand why Nadia wouldn't just talk to him. She didn't explain. Didn't justify. Simply said, "It's between me and my attorney now," and changed the subject. At work, Nadia threw herself into projects. Her boss commented on her increased productivity, not realizing it was pure distraction therapy. If she kept busy enough, she didn't have to think about the emptiness of her house at night or the way 6 years of her life had been based on fiction. She started noticing things about her marriage that she had missed before. Small things that now seemed obvious. The way Terrence always kept his phone face down. How he took calls in other rooms. The separate credit card he claimed was for business expenses. The clothes he kept in his car, always explaining them as emergency backup outfits for unexpected client meetings. The cologne she never saw him put on at home but sometimes smelled on his shirts. The gym membership he supposedly used during lunch breaks but never seemed to get more fit. All of it made sense now. All of it had been warnings she hadn't seen. Nadia started a new document on her laptop, listing every red flag she had missed. Not to torture herself but to learn. To make sure she never ignored her instincts again. To remember that trust had to be earned, not freely given. She also started investigating Terrence's finances more thoroughly. Janet had recommended a forensic accountant, and Nadia hired one immediately. Within days, they uncovered financial irregularities that made her head spin. Terrence had been funneling money from their joint account into personal investments under a different name. He had credit cards Nadia never knew about, maxed out and in collections. He had taken out a loan using their house as collateral without her knowledge. "This is fraud," Janet explained during their weekly meeting. "He forged your signature on the loan documents. We can pursue criminal charges if you want." "Will it help my divorce case?" "It absolutely will. Shows a pattern of deception and financial malfeasance. Makes it easier to argue you deserve the majority of assets." "Then do it." Nadia felt no hesitation. No sympathy for what Terrence was facing. He had made his choices. Now he could live with the consequences. Meanwhile, she began reclaiming her life. She contacted the bank and had Terrence removed from their joint accounts, transferring the remaining money to a new account in only her name. She changed passwords on all their shared subscriptions and services. She removed his name from utility bills and insurance policies. Piece by piece, she erased him from her daily existence. One evening, Nadia drove past the downtown apartment building again. She told herself it was on the way home from work, though it definitely wasn't. She parked and watched. Terrence's car was in the parking garage. Through the building's large windows, she could see into what must be the apartment. Terrence stood in the living room, arguing with someone off camera. Probably Simone. Good. Let them tear each other apart. Let Simone realize exactly what kind of man she had fallen for. Let Terrence face the destruction of both his carefully constructed lives simultaneously. Nadia took photos of his car there, time-stamped them, and added them to her evidence file. Then she drove home, feeling nothing but cold satisfaction. At home, she poured herself a glass of wine and opened her laptop. Her forensic accountant had sent over a new report. Terrence's financial situation was even worse than they thought. He was deeply in debt, had missed payments on multiple accounts, and had maxed out cards in both his name and his false identity. The man was drowning financially, probably trying to maintain 2 households on one income while hiding the truth from both women. Nadia almost laughed. What did he think would happen? That he could keep this going forever? Her phone rang. Her best friend, Renee, calling for their scheduled check-in. Hey girl. How you holding up? I'm fine. Nadia took a sip of wine. Better than fine actually. My attorney is destroying him. Good. He deserves it. Renee paused. But how are you really? Like emotionally? Honestly? I'm angry. Really angry. But it's better than being sad. Anger is productive. Just make sure you're processing everything, not just pushing it down. I will. Eventually. Right now I need to stay focused. They talked for an hour, Renee providing the kind of unwavering support that reminded Nadia she had people in her corner. Real people who had always been honest with her. After hanging up, Nadia looked around her living room. The photos of her and Terrence still hung on the walls. His favorite blanket was still draped over the couch. His books were still on the shelf. She spent the rest of the evening removing every trace of him. Photos went into a box in the garage. His belongings were packed up. By midnight the house looked different. Empty spaces where his things had been, but also cleaner. Lighter. More hers. The next day at work, Nadia ran into Brian, Terrence's co-worker who had known about the double life. He tried to avoid her in the hallway but she called out to him. Brian. Wait. He turned reluctantly. Hey Nadia. I heard about you and Terrence. Sorry about that. Are you? Sorry? She stepped closer. Because I found emails where you thought his bigamy was hilarious. Where you called him a legend for keeping 2 wives. Brian's face went red. That was just guy talk. Locker room stuff. I didn't actually approve. But you knew. You knew what he was doing and you said nothing. Nadia's voice was cold. You helped him lie to me. I didn't help him with anything. You knew and stayed silent. That's helping. She pulled out her phone. I have screenshots of those emails. My attorney has them too. If this goes to court, you might be called to testify about what you knew and when. Just thought you should know. She walked away, leaving Brian standing frozen in the hallway. It was petty maybe, but watching him squirm felt good. That weekend, Nadia did something she hadn't done in years. She went to an art supply store and bought canvases, paints, brushes. She used to paint constantly in college before life and marriage and responsibilities had pushed her hobbies aside. She set up an easel in the spare bedroom and started painting. Nothing specific at first, just colors and shapes. Therapy through art. The first painting was angry. Red and black, violent strokes, chaotic energy. She finished it in 3 hours and felt exhausted but cleansed. The second was calmer. Blues and greens, flowing lines, more controlled. It took 2 days and she liked how it turned out. By the end of the weekend, she had completed 4 paintings and had started a 5th. Creating something, building something that was entirely hers, felt powerful. Monday morning brought an email from Janet. Terrence's attorney has requested a meeting. They want to negotiate terms. Are you interested in hearing their offer? Nadia called her back immediately. What kind of offer? I don't have details yet, but I suspect they'll try to settle quickly. Probably hoping to avoid having all his dirty laundry aired in court. I want it aired in court. I want everyone to know what he did. I understand. But hear me out. A settlement could get you out of this marriage faster and with less stress. Court battles can drag on for months or years. Take an emotional toll. What do you recommend? Listen to their offer. We don't have to accept, but there's no harm in hearing it. Know your enemy's position. Nadia agreed. They scheduled a meeting for Friday afternoon. That week crawled by. Nadia found herself both dreading and anticipating the meeting. Part of her wanted to face Terrence across a conference table and watch him squirm. Part of her never wanted to see him again. Friday came. Janet's office. Terrence arrived with his attorney, a nervous-looking man in an ill-fitting suit. Terrence himself looked worse than the last time she saw him. Thinner, with dark circles under his eyes. Nadia felt nothing looking at him. No love, no hate. Just indifference. They sat across from each other. Terrence tried to catch her eye, but she looked only at his attorney. "My client would like to propose a settlement," the attorney began. "He's willing to split all marital assets 50-50 and forego any request for alimony. In exchange, Mrs. Wilson would agree not to pursue fraud charges and to keep the details of the marriage dissolution confidential." Janet didn't even blink. "Absolutely not. Your client committed bigamy and fraud. He forged documents and embezzled marital funds. Mrs. Wilson is entitled to significantly more than half. My client made mistakes, but he's willing to make amends." "Your client is a criminal," Janet said flatly. "Here's our counteroffer. Mrs. Wilson receives the house, valued at $350,000, clear title. She receives 75% of all other marital assets. Your client assumes all marital debts. Mrs. Wilson receives spousal support for 5 years. And we reserve the right to pursue fraud charges if your client doesn't comply fully with discovery." Terrence's attorney looked at him. Terrence's jaw was clenched, his hands balled into fists. "That's not fair. This is my life too. You should have thought about that before you married 2 women, Nadia spoke for the first time. Her voice was calm. "You destroyed our life when you lied to me for years. This is the consequence." "I love you." Terrence's voice cracked. "I made mistakes, but I love you. We can fix this." "No, we can't. Because I don't love you anymore. I don't even know who you are." Nadia stood. "Janet, I think we're done here." As she left, she heard Terrence calling after her. She didn't turn around. Didn't acknowledge him. Just walked out with her head high. In the parking lot, Janet caught up with her. "You did great in there. Didn't let him get to you. I'm done letting him affect me. Done giving him power over my emotions." His attorney will come back with a counteroffer. Probably something between their proposal and ours. "I don't want to negotiate. I want what I'm owed." "Good. That's the attitude we need." Nadia drove home feeling stronger than she had in weeks. Terrence's tears, his pleas, his desperation. None of it touched her. She was moving forward and he couldn't stop her. That night she painted again. This one was bright. Yellow and orange, energetic and alive. A new beginning captured in brushstrokes. She was done being the silent victim. Done crying over what she lost. She was focused now on what came next, on the life she would build from the ashes of her marriage. Terrence had tried to destroy her. Instead he had freed her. And she was going to make sure he regretted every lie he ever told. 3 weeks after the failed negotiation meeting, Terrence's life began collapsing in earnest. Nadia watched it happen from a distance, gathering information through her attorney and the evidence she continued to collect. She felt no sympathy. Only grim satisfaction that justice was finally catching up to him. The forensic accountant found more financial fraud. Terrence had opened credit cards in Nadia's name without her permission, racking up over $30,000 in debt. He had taken out personal loans using false information. He had even convinced Simone to co-sign on a car loan, then defaulted on the payments, destroying her credit. "He's been running a shell game with money for years," Janet explained during one of their meetings. "Moving funds around, paying one debt with another loan, barely staying ahead of collections. It was bound to fall apart eventually. So he's broke. Worse than broke. Deeply in debt with no real way to pay it back. His salary can't cover both his legitimate expenses and all these hidden costs." This explained why Terrence had been so desperate to settle. He needed Nadia's money to pay off his debts. Needed access to their joint assets to save himself. She felt vindicated in refusing his offer. Meanwhile, consequences were piling up in other areas of his life. Word had spread at his company about the bigamy. Brian, scared of being implicated, had apparently told HR everything he knew. Terrence was put on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. Without his job, his already precarious financial situation became critical. Nadia learned all this through her own investigation and occasional updates from people who felt she deserved to know. She didn't gloat. Didn't reach out to Terrence to rub it in. She simply documented everything and continued building her case. One evening, Nadia's doorbell rang. She checked the security camera she had installed after changing the locks. A woman stood on her porch. Not Simone. Someone older, maybe in her 60s, well-dressed. Nadia opened the door cautiously, keeping the security chain engaged. "Can I help you? Are you Nadia Wilson? Terrence's wife?" The woman's voice was cultured, controlled. "Who are you?" "My name is Gloria Henderson. I'm Simone's mother." She looked tired, sad. "Please. I just need 5 minutes of your time." Against her better judgment, Nadia removed the chain and let her in. They sat in the living room, the space between them heavy with unspoken questions. "I came to apologize," Gloria began, "for my daughter's part in this situation. Your daughter didn't do anything wrong. She didn't know about me. But she participated in destroying your marriage even unknowingly. As her mother, I feel responsible. If I had raised her to be more careful, to ask more questions, maybe this wouldn't have happened." Nadia shook her head. "This isn't Simone's fault. It's Terrence's. He lied to both of us. He's the only one responsible." "That's kind of you to say." Gloria twisted her hands in her lap. "Simone is devastated. She really loved him. Thought she had found her person. To learn it was all built on lies, that her marriage wasn't even legal, it broke something in her. I understand. But I can't help her heal from this. I'm barely managing my own recovery. I'm not asking you to help her. I just wanted you to know that she's suffering too. That she never meant to hurt you." Gloria met Nadia's eyes. "And I wanted to warn you. Terrence has been calling Simone constantly, begging her to take him back, telling her that you're vindictive and trying to ruin his life. He's been showing up at her apartment, at her job. She had to get a restraining order." Nadia felt her spine straighten. "He's harassing her?" "Desperately. He needs money and thinks if he can convince Simone to forgive him, maybe she'll help him financially. She won't, of course. She wants nothing to do with him. But he won't stop trying. This was useful information. Thank you for telling me. I'll pass this along to my attorney." Gloria stood to leave. At the door she turned back. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry this happened to you. You seem like a strong woman. I hope you find happiness after all this." "Thank you. I hope Simone does too." After Gloria left, Nadia immediately called Janet and relayed the information about Terrence harassing Simone. "That's valuable," Janet said. "Shows a pattern of erratic behavior. Helps establish that he's unstable and potentially dangerous. If you feel threatened at all, you should consider a restraining order too." "I don't think I need one. He hasn't been to the house since I changed the locks." "Just keep it in mind. Men in desperate situations can be unpredictable." That night, Nadia had trouble sleeping. Not because she feared Terrence, but because something Gloria said stuck with her. Simone had to get a restraining order. That meant Terrence was truly unraveling, not just financially but mentally. The man she married would never have stalked someone. Would never have needed a restraining order. But then, the man she married had never really existed. Who was Terrence really? What kind of person could maintain 2 marriages, lie constantly, commit fraud, and then become unhinged when consequences caught up with him? Nadia realized she would never know. And she had to make peace with that. Over the next week, more pieces of Terrence's life fell apart. His company fired him after the investigation revealed he had been falsifying expense reports and using company resources for personal matters. His car was repossessed because he stopped making payments. Creditors started calling Nadia, trying to collect on debts in his name. She referred them all to her attorney and refused to accept any responsibility for his financial mess. Then one evening, Renee called with unexpected news. "Girl, you're not going to believe this. Terrence tried to contact me on social media. Sent me a long message about how you're ruining his life and I need to talk sense into you." "What did you say?" "I blocked him, obviously. But Nadia, he sounded unhinged. The message was all over the place, blaming you for everything, claiming you tricked him into marriage, saying you were always controlling and he had to escape. Complete nonsense. He's rewriting history to make himself the victim." "Exactly. But I wanted you to know in case he tries reaching out to other people in your life. Thanks for the warning." After hanging up, Nadia checked her own social media. She had blocked Terrence weeks ago, but she looked at mutual friends' pages to see if he was posting anything public. He wasn't. But there were several recent posts from people she barely knew, people from Terrence's life, making vague references to betrayal and false accusations. Clearly he was spinning a narrative where he was the injured party. Nadia didn't engage. Didn't try to set the record straight publicly. Anyone who knew her would know the truth. Anyone who believed Terrence's version wasn't worth her time. A few days later, Janet called with an update on the divorce proceedings. "Terrence's attorney filed a response to our demands. They're asking the court for leniency, claiming financial hardship. They want a payment plan for any settlement instead of immediate liquidation of assets. Absolutely not. He wanted to play these games, he can face the consequences now. That's what I figured you'd say. We're moving forward with the original demands. The hearing is scheduled for 6 weeks from now. Be prepared for this to get ugly. When cornered, desperate people do desperate things. I'm ready. But even as Nadia said it, she wondered if she truly was. Not because she feared Terence physically, but because some part of her, buried deep, still mourned what she thought they had. Still grieved the loss of the man she believed loved her. That night, she pulled out her old wedding photos. She had packed them away weeks ago, but now she looked at them with fresh eyes. Young Nadia, radiant in her simple white dress. Terence in his suit, smiling at the camera. Both of them looking so happy, so sure of their future together. What would she tell that younger version of herself? Would she warn her? Or would she let her enjoy those years of innocent trust before everything shattered? Nadia carefully tore Terence out of each photo, leaving only herself. She had been real. Her love had been real. She refused to let his betrayal erase the person she had been. She created a new photo album, just pictures of herself. Her growth over 6 years. Her journey. Her strength. Terence might have been a fraud, but she was genuine. And that mattered. The following week brought an unexpected visitor to her workplace. Nadia was leaving for lunch when she spotted Terence waiting by her car in the parking lot. Her heart rate spiked, but she kept walking toward him. She wasn't afraid. Not anymore. Nadia, please. I need to talk to you. You look terrible. Unshaven, clothes rumpled, eyes bloodshot. You need to leave. We have nothing to discuss outside of our attorneys. Please. Just listen. 5 minutes. He moved closer and she stepped back, maintaining distance. I'm losing everything. My job, my apartment, my car. I have nothing left. I need help. You need help? Nadia's voice was sharp. You destroyed my life and now you want my help? I made mistakes. I know that. But I'm drowning here. Can't you find it in your heart to show some mercy? For what we had. What we had was a lie, Terence. All of it. You don't get to ask for mercy after what you did. I still love you. His voice broke. That was always real. My feelings for you were real. No, they weren't. You can't love someone and lie to them every single day. You can't love someone and marry someone else while they're caring for their dying mother. Nadia's voice was steady, cold. What you felt was convenience. I was useful to you. That's not love. You become so hard. So cold. This isn't the woman I married. The woman you married was trusting and naive. She's gone. You killed her. Nadia unlocked her car. Don't come to my workplace again. Don't contact me. Speak only to my attorney. If you show up again, I'm getting a restraining order. She drove away, watching him in the rearview mirror. He stood in the parking lot, shoulders slumped, the picture of defeat. Good. Let him feel what she felt. Let him experience the destruction of everything familiar. That evening, Nadia painted again. This one was different. Dark blues and purples, but with streaks of gold breaking through. Beauty emerging from darkness. Hope-piercing despair. She titled it Unraveling, and hung it in her bedroom where she would see it every morning. A reminder that sometimes things had to fall apart before they could be rebuilt into something stronger. Terence's life was unraveling. But hers? Hers was just beginning to come together in ways she never imagined possible. And she intended to make sure that in the rubble of their marriage, she was the one who rose from the ashes. The divorce hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks away. Nadia spent that time systematically dismantling every remaining connection between her life and Terence's. It was methodical work, satisfying in its completeness. She started with their finances, which the forensic accountant had helpfully mapped out in excruciating detail. Every fraudulent transaction, every hidden debt, every dollar Terence had siphoned away from their marriage was documented and categorized. The file was 3 inches thick. Nadia went through it all, highlighting key sections, making notes for Janet. She wanted to understand exactly how Terence had stolen from her, wanted to know the full scope of his betrayal. The numbers were staggering. Over 4 years, he had stolen nearly $200,000 from their joint accounts. Money she had saved from her job, money they were supposed to use for a future family, for a bigger house, for retirement. Gone. Spent maintaining his double life. She felt the anger rise again, hot and righteous. But she channeled it into action, working with Janet to ensure every penny would be accounted for in the divorce settlement. Meanwhile, Nadia focused on rebuilding herself. She started therapy, seeing a counselor who specialized in trauma and betrayal. The first session was hard, admitting out loud how much damage had been done. But it helped to talk to someone objective, someone who could validate her feelings without judgment. What you're experiencing is normal, Dr. Patterson told her during their third session. Betrayal trauma is real. Your nervous system was in a state of trust, of safety, and that was violated in the most fundamental way. It's going to take time to heal. I don't feel traumatized, Nadia admitted. I feel angry, driven. Is that wrong? Not at all. Anger can be a healthy response. It means you're defending yourself, protecting your boundaries. The key is making sure the anger serves you rather than consuming you. Nadia thought about that a lot over the following days. Her anger did serve her. It kept her focused, motivated, moving forward. As long as she channeled it productively, it wasn't a problem. She also started reconnecting with parts of herself she had neglected during her marriage. The painting continued, each canvas a release of emotion. She joined a local art group that met every Thursday evening, showing her work and receiving feedback from other artists. These are incredible, one woman named Tasha said, examining Nadia's latest piece. So much raw emotion. What's your inspiration? Life, Nadia answered simply. Processing life. She made new friends through the art group. People who knew nothing about her marriage, her divorce, or Terrence. People who saw only the artist she was becoming, not the wounded wife she had been. It felt like breathing fresh air after being underground for years. Nadia also started working on a business plan. She had always dreamed of freelancing as a graphic designer, building her own client base instead of working for someone else. Her marriage, with its perceived stability and joint finances, had made that dream seem unnecessary. Now it seemed essential. She needed independence. Needed to build something that was entirely hers. She worked on the plan in the evenings after therapy, after painting, after all her divorce preparation was done for the day. Market research, branding, financial projections. It was exciting, creating something new from nothing. Her days fell into a rhythm. Work, therapy, painting, planning, documentation for the divorce. Each activity built on the others, creating a structure that held her together. Friends noticed the change in her. Renee commented during one of their regular calls, "You sound different. Stronger. I feel stronger. Like I'm finally becoming who I was meant to be." Good. That man tried to destroy you. Instead, he just cleared the path for you to build something better. It was true. Terrence had inadvertently given her the greatest gift possible by being exposed. She could have spent another 6 years, another 10 years living a lie. Instead, she was free to create an authentic life. One afternoon, Nadia received a call from Patricia, Terrence's mother. She had texted a few times over the past weeks, checking in, offering support. This was their first actual phone conversation since that initial call. "How are you holding up, sweetheart?" Patricia's voice was kind. "I'm doing well, actually. Better than I expected." "Good. That's good." Patricia paused. "I wanted to let you know, Terrence came to visit me last week. Showed up at my house looking like death warmed over. He tried to get me to talk to you, to convince you to go easy on him in the divorce." "What did you tell him?" "I told him that he made his bed and now he has to lie in it. Told him I didn't raise him to be a liar and a cheat, and I sure wasn't going to help him escape the consequences of his actions." Patricia's voice was firm. "He's my son and I love him, but what he did was wrong. Period." "Thank you," Nadia said softly. "That means a lot. You deserve so much better. I hope you find someone who treats you right, who values you the way you should be valued." After they hung up, Nadia felt grateful for Patricia's integrity. She could have defended her son blindly, could have made excuses or blamed Nadia. Instead, she held Terrence accountable. That took courage. The weeks passed. Nadia continued her preparations, her rebuilding, her healing. She boxed up the last of Terrence's belongings that he had never collected and had them delivered to his mother's house, washing her hands of any remaining physical evidence of his presence. She redecorated the bedroom, buying new sheets, new curtains, new everything. Erasing the space they had shared and making it entirely hers. The room looked brighter, fresher, more alive. She did the same with the rest of the house. New throw pillows. Different artwork on the walls. Small changes that added up to a completely transformed space. This was her home now. Only hers. 2 weeks before the hearing, Janet called with news. Terrence's attorney wants to meet again. They have a new settlement proposal. "I'm not interested in settling." "I know. But humor me. Let's hear what they have to say. We don't have to accept, but it's good to know where they stand." They met at Janet's office again. This time Terrence didn't come. Just his attorney, looking even more harried than before. "My client is in a very difficult financial position," the attorney began without preamble. "He's willing to give Mrs. Wilson everything she's asked for with one condition: that she agree not to pursue criminal fraud charges." Janet leaned back in her chair. "So he wants to avoid jail time. He wants a chance to rebuild his life without a criminal record." "What he wants is irrelevant," Nadia spoke up. "He committed crimes. Forgery. Identity theft. Fraud. Why should he escape consequences? Because pursuing criminal charges will take years and cause you additional stress and expense. A clean divorce settlement gets you free faster." Nadia looked at Janet. "What do you think?" "Honestly, he's not wrong. Criminal cases are lengthy and emotionally draining. You've already accomplished your main goal of dissolving the marriage and protecting your assets. Criminal charges would be extra punishment but might not be worth the toll on you." Nadia thought about it. What did she really want? To see Terrence in jail? Or to move on with her life? "What exactly are you offering?" she asked. The attorney pulled out a document. "Full divorce. Mrs. Wilson keeps the house, all personal assets, and receives 70% of remaining joint assets after debts are settled. Mr. Williams assumes all marital debt. No alimony because there are no assets to pay it from, but he waives any future claims on Mrs. Wilson's earnings or property. In exchange, she agrees not to file criminal charges related to the marriage or finances." Janet reviewed the document carefully. "What about the debts he created in her name?" "He'll work with creditors to remove her from those accounts and assume full responsibility. We have letters drafted to send to each credit agency. And if he defaults on those promises? Then the agreement is void and Mrs. Wilson is free to pursue criminal charges." Janet looked at Nadia. "It's not a bad deal. You get everything you asked for and a clear exit. You retain the nuclear option if he doesn't hold up his end." Nadia stared at the document. This was it. Her exit from the marriage. Her chance to be completely free of Terrence. All she had to do was agree not to send him to jail. Was revenge worth delaying her freedom? She thought about the life she was building. The art group. The business plan. The therapy sessions that were helping her heal. Did she want to spend the next few years tangled up in criminal proceedings, reliving the betrayal over and over in courtrooms? No. She wanted to move forward. Wanted to leave Terrence and everything he represented in the past where it belonged. "I have one addition," Nadia said. "He signs a statement admitting to bigamy and fraud. Full confession notarized. That way if he ever tries to rewrite history or blame me, I have his admission on record." The attorney looked uncomfortable. "I'll have to ask my client. That's my condition. Take it or leave it." They waited while the attorney called Terrence. The conversation was heated, with the attorney stepping into the hallway. 20 minutes later he returned. "He agrees. He'll sign the confession as part of the settlement agreement." "Then we have a deal," Nadia said. "Draft the papers." As they left the office, Janet touched her arm. "You made the right choice. This gets you free cleanly." "I know. And honestly, he's going to punish himself worse than any court could. He has to live with what he did, live with who he is. That's its own prison." The settlement papers were drafted within 3 days. Nadia and Terrence signed them at separate times, with Janet present for Nadia and his attorney present for him. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks later, faster than Nadia had dared hope. The judge reviewed the settlement agreement and signed off without comment. Just like that, 6 years of marriage dissolved. Nadia walked out of the courthouse legally free, carrying nothing but a folder of official documents and the weight of hard-won wisdom. That evening she stood in her house, completely hers, and felt something shift inside her. The anger that had sustained her for months began to ease. Not disappear but settle into something quieter. Something manageable. She poured herself a glass of wine and walked through each room, seeing it with new eyes. This was her sanctuary now. Her safe space. No more lies living within these walls. Nadia raised her glass in a silent toast. To freedom. To truth. To the future she would build on her own terms. The exit was complete. Now the real work of living could begin. The divorce was final, but Nadia's journey wasn't quite over. 3 months after the papers were signed, she received an unexpected package at her door. No return address, just her name and the house number. Inside was a letter from Terrence. Handwritten, 3 pages long. Nadia almost threw it away without reading. She owed him nothing, least of all her attention. But curiosity won out. She sat at her kitchen table and read. The letter was rambling, self-pitying, full of justifications and excuses. He talked about his difficult childhood, his fears of abandonment, his struggle with commitment. He claimed he never meant to hurt anyone, that he got caught up in circumstances beyond his control. Not once did he take full responsibility. Not once did he simply say, "I was wrong." Instead, he ended the letter with a request. Could they meet? Talk in person? He wanted closure. Nadia laughed out loud. Closure. As if he was entitled to that. As if she should give him peace of mind after everything he had done. She texted Janet a photo of the letter. Thoughts? Janet called immediately. Don't respond. Don't meet him. This is manipulation. I know it is, but part of me wants to. On my terms. One last conversation where I say everything I need to say. Nadia, be careful. Men like Terrence are skilled at twisting situations to their advantage. Which is why it would be on my terms. Public place. Time limit. You on speed dial if I need an exit. Janet sighed. If you're determined to do this, at least make it count. Don't let him control the narrative. Nadia thought about it for 2 days. Did she need this confrontation? Or was she done with Terrence completely? Finally, she decided. She would meet him. Not for closure, because she didn't need his permission to move on. But to show him exactly who she had become. To demonstrate that he had not broken her. She texted him from a new number. One meeting. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. at the coffee shop on 5th Street. 30 minutes. I have things to say and you're going to listen. His response came immediately. Thank you. I'll be there. The next day, Nadia dressed carefully. A red blouse, black pants, minimal jewelry. She looked professional, pulled together, strong. Everything Terrence probably didn't expect. She arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early, choosing a table in the center of the room. Visible, public, safe. She ordered black coffee and waited, her heart surprisingly calm. Terrence arrived exactly on time. He looked better than the last time she saw him. Cleaner, more put together, though still thinner than he used to be. He spotted her and approached hesitantly. Can I sit? That's why we're here. He sat across from her, fidgeting with his hands. Up close, she could see the toll everything had taken. Lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. Gray hair at his temples. The physical evidence of consequences. Thank you for meeting me, he began. I'm not here to make you feel better, Terrence. I'm here because I have things to say and you're going to listen without interrupting. Her voice was firm. Can you do that? He nodded. Good. First, I want you to understand something. You didn't just betray me. You stole years of my life. Years I gave you in good faith, years I trusted you completely. You took that trust and used it to lie to my face every single day. Terrence opened his mouth, but she held up a hand. I'm not done. You married another woman while I was caring for my dying mother. While I was at my most vulnerable, at my most broken, you were building a life with someone else. Do you have any idea how deeply that cuts? How fundamentally wrong that is? I know, he whispered. I've thought about it every day. Have you? Because your letter was full of excuses. Your childhood. Your fears. Your struggles. Not once did you just say you were wrong. Not once did you acknowledge the full weight of what you did. I'm wrong. I know I am. Saying the words isn't the same as understanding them. Nadia leaned forward. You destroyed 2 women's lives because you were too cowardly to be honest. You could have divorced me. Could have ended things properly. Instead you chose to lie, to commit fraud, to live a double life. That wasn't circumstances beyond your control. That was choice. Your choices. Terrence's eyes were wet. I loved you. I still love you. No, you don't. You never did. Love doesn't look like what you did to me. Love is honest. Love is faithful. Love doesn't steal and lie and betray. Nadia's voice remained steady. What you felt was possession. I was convenient. I served a purpose. That's not love. I made mistakes. Mistakes are accidents. What you did was deliberate. Calculated. You planned every lie, every deception. You had to work at maintaining 2 marriages. That takes effort. That's not a mistake, Terrence. That's who you chose to be. He put his head in his hands. His shoulders shook. He was crying. Nadia felt nothing watching him fall apart. No sympathy. No satisfaction. Just a distant observation that this man who once held her heart was now a stranger whose pain couldn't touch her. I thought if I could just explain, Terrence said through his tears. If you could understand why, maybe you could forgive me. I don't need to understand why. There is no why that makes it acceptable. And I don't forgive you. I probably never will. Nadia took a sip of her coffee. But I don't need to forgive you to move on. That's what you don't understand. My healing doesn't require your participation. So why did you agree to meet me? Because I wanted to look you in the eye and tell you that you failed. You tried to destroy me and instead you freed me. I'm building a life now that's better than anything we had. I'm creating art, starting a business, making real friends, finding out who I am without your lies weighing me down. She smiled slightly. You wanted to break me. But all you did was show me how strong I really am. Terrence lifted his head. I'm glad you're doing well. Really. You deserve happiness. I don't need your permission for that either. They sat in silence for a moment. Nadia checked her watch. 28 minutes. Our time is almost up. Wait, please. Can I ask you something? When she nodded, he continued. Do you ever think about the good times? Do they mean anything to you now? Nadia considered the question carefully. The good times were real to me. My love was real. But you poisoned all of it with your lies. Every happy memory is now tainted with the knowledge that you were living a double life. So no, they don't mean what they used to. They're just evidence of how well you fooled me. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am truly sorry. Your apology doesn't change what happened. It doesn't undo the damage. It's too little too late. Nadia stood. This is the last time we'll see each other. I'm blocking your number again. Don't send letters. Don't try to contact me. We're done, completely and permanently. Nadia, wait. No. I gave you 30 minutes. That's more than you deserved. She picked up her purse. Have a good life, Terrence. Or don't. Either way, it's no longer my concern. She walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. Behind her, she could hear Terrence calling her name, but she didn't stop. Didn't turn around. Just kept walking to her car with her head high. In the parking lot, she sat behind the wheel for a moment, processing. That was it. The final confrontation. The last words she would ever speak to the man she once planned to spend her life with. It felt anticlimactic. She had expected to feel triumph or vindication. Instead she felt relieved. Done. Ready to close that chapter completely. She called Janet as she drove home. It's over. I met with him and said everything I needed to say. How do you feel? Free. Really, truly free. Nadia smiled. He wanted closure and I gave it to him. But not the kind he expected. I told him exactly who he is and what he did. And then I walked away. Good for you. You didn't owe him that conversation, but I'm glad it helped you. It did. Now I can move forward knowing I said everything I needed to. No regrets. No lingering questions. That evening, Nadia painted her final painting of the series. This one was different from all the others. It was bright, hopeful, full of color and light. She titled it Liberation, and hung it opposite Unraveling in her bedroom. The journey from darkness to light, captured in art. She looked at both paintings, seeing the story they told together. The destruction of betrayal and the rebuilding that followed. Both were part of her story now. Both had made her who she was. Nadia picked up her phone and deleted every photo of Terrence that remained. Every text thread. Every email. She removed him from her social media completely, blocking him on every platform. Then she created a new folder on her laptop. Future plans. Inside she put her business plan, her art portfolio, her goals for the next year, the next 5 years, the next decade. Terrence was the past. This folder was her future. And unlike the future she had imagined with him, this one was built on truth. On her own strength. On possibilities that were entirely hers to create. The confrontation was over. The past was finally, completely behind her. And Nadia was ready to embrace whatever came next. 6 months post-divorce, Nadia's life had transformed in ways she couldn't have imagined. That terrible night when Simone's call shattered her world. Her graphic design business, Wilson Creative, was officially launched. She had 3 steady clients already, with 2 more in the pipeline. The work was challenging and fulfilling in ways her corporate job never was. She controlled her schedule, chose her projects, and built something that reflected her vision. The spare bedroom had become her office, walls covered with mood boards and color samples. Her desk faced the window, giving her a view of the garden she had started planting. Something else to nurture and watch grow. Her art was gaining recognition too. The Thursday group had encouraged her to submit pieces to a local gallery showing. To her surprise, 2 paintings sold on opening night. The buyers loved the emotional depth, the raw honesty in her work. They had no idea they were purchasing her pain transformed into beauty. Therapy with Dr. Patterson continued, though less frequently now. Weekly sessions had become bi-weekly, then monthly. Nadia was learning to process her emotions without constant professional guidance, building internal resources for managing stress and anxiety. "You've come remarkably far," Dr. Patterson told her during one session. "When you first came to me, you were in crisis mode. All action, no processing. Now you're integrating both. You're healing, not just surviving." "I still have moments," Nadia admitted. "Times when I see a couple laughing together and I feel that flash of anger or sadness. That's normal. Healing isn't linear. You'll have setbacks. The key is that they become less frequent and less intense over time." It was true. The bad days were fewer now. Most days, Nadia woke up excited about her work, her art, her life. The divorce felt like something that happened to a different person, even though she carried the lessons learned. She had reconnected with old friends she had neglected during her marriage. College roommates she hadn't seen in years. Co-workers from previous jobs. People who knew her before Terrence, who remembered the woman she had been. "You seem lighter," her college friend Monica observed over dinner one evening. "More like the Nadia I knew back in school. Confident. Independent." "I lost myself for a while," Nadia agreed. "It's good to find my way back." "Better than back. You're evolved. Stronger." Renee remained her closest confidant, checking in regularly and celebrating every milestone. When Nadia's third painting sold, Renee insisted on taking her out for champagne. "To success and healing," Renee toasted. "You earned this. I couldn't have done it without you. You kept me sane through everything. That's what best friends do. And between you and me, I never really liked Terrence. Something always felt off about him. I should have said something. Would I have listened? Probably not. Love makes us blind sometimes." Nadia thought about that often. How she had ignored small warning signs because she wanted to believe in their marriage. How trust had made her vulnerable. It was a delicate balance, learning to trust again while remaining vigilant. She dated occasionally, though nothing serious. A few coffee dates, one dinner that went well enough for a second outing before fizzling naturally. Nadia wasn't looking for a relationship. She was still learning to be comfortable alone, to enjoy her own company without needing someone else to validate her worth. One evening, a man named Jordan from her art group asked her to an exhibition opening. He was kind, talented, and clearly interested in more than friendship. Nadia surprised herself by saying yes. The date went well. Jordan was easy to talk to, respectful of her boundaries, genuinely interested in her art and opinions. When he walked her to her car at the end of the evening, he didn't try to kiss her. Just smiled and said, "I'd like to do this again sometime." "I'd like that too," Nadia found herself saying. They went out twice more over the following weeks. Slow, careful steps toward something that might become real. Nadia was honest with him about her divorce, about her need to take things gradually. Jordan listened without judgment and never pushed for more than she was ready to give. "I'm not in a hurry," he told her. "Good things take time." It was refreshing, this gentle approach. So different from Terrence's intensity, his quick rush into commitment that Nadia now recognized as love bombing. Jordan gave her space to be uncertain, to guard her heart while slowly testing if trust was possible again. Meanwhile, news filtered back occasionally about Terrence. He had moved to another city, trying to start over somewhere people didn't know his story. Patricia kept in touch with Nadia, apologizing for her son while maintaining their friendship. "He's working at a car dealership now," Patricia reported during one call. "Claims he's turning his life around." "I hope he is," Nadia said honestly. "Not for his sake, but because he needs to stop hurting people. You're kinder than I would be in your position." "I'm not kind. I'm indifferent. There's a difference." It was true. Terrence had become a cautionary tale in her mind, a reminder of what to avoid, but he no longer had the power to hurt her. She neither wished him well nor hoped for his downfall. He simply no longer mattered. Simone, on the other hand, never contacted Nadia again after that one phone call. Nadia sometimes wondered how she was doing, whether she had healed or found happiness again. But they had chosen different paths through their shared trauma, and that was okay. Gloria, Simone's mother, had sent a Christmas card. Just a brief note thanking Nadia for her grace during an impossible situation and wishing her well. Nadia sent one back, a simple acknowledgement that carried no obligation for continued contact. Some bridges were meant to be burned. Others simply faded, and that was fine too. Nadia's house had become her sanctuary. Every room reflected her taste, her choices, her life. She had replaced the couch, painted the bedroom a soft blue, hung her artwork on walls that once displayed photos of a life built on lies. Friends came over for dinner parties and game nights. The space felt alive with laughter and real connection. No more performing happiness while her husband lived a double life. Just genuine joy shared with people who cared about her. One Saturday afternoon, Nadia was gardening in her front yard when a moving truck pulled up at the house next door. New neighbors. She watched curiously as a family began unloading. A woman, a man, and 2 kids racing around excitedly. The woman noticed her and waved. "Hi, I'm Leslie. We just moved in." Nadia introduced herself, helping carry a few lighter boxes. The kids, twin girls about 7 years old, peppered her with questions about the neighborhood. The husband, Marcus, was friendly and grateful for the help. "This seems like a nice area," Leslie said. "Good energy." "It is. I've been here for years. Love it." Nadia smiled. "If you need recommendations for anything local, just ask." Over the following weeks, she and Leslie became casual friends. Not close but neighborly. The kind of relationship built on borrowed cups of sugar and chat over the fence while watering plants. Normal, healthy, uncomplicated. Everything in Nadia's life was simpler now. Not easier necessarily, but authentic. She knew who she was, what she wanted, what she would and wouldn't accept. The divorce had burned away illusions, leaving only truth. One evening, alone in her house, Nadia made herself dinner and sat at the kitchen table with a notebook. She started writing, documenting her journey from that 2 a.m. phone call to this moment of peaceful solitude. The act of writing helped her process, helped her see how far she had come. The woman who answered Simone's call would barely recognize who she had become. Stronger, wiser, scarred but not broken. She wrote for hours, filling pages with her story. Not to publish or share, but to honor her own survival. To remember that she had faced the worst kind of betrayal and emerged on the other side intact. As midnight approached, Nadia closed the notebook and looked around her kitchen. Tomorrow she had a client meeting for a major project. Next week, another art show. In a month, she was planning a weekend trip to the coast with Renee, just for fun. Her calendar was full of things that made her happy. Things she chose. Things built on solid ground, not shifting sand. The aftermath of betrayal had been brutal. But the healing, slow and painful as it was, had brought her to a place of genuine peace. A place where she controlled her own narrative, built her own future, and trusted herself completely. That was worth everything she had lost. That was worth the pain of getting here. Nadia turned off the lights and went to bed, content in the knowledge that tomorrow would bring new opportunities, new growth, new reasons to be grateful she had survived. Spring arrived with soft rain and blooming flowers. Nadia stood in her garden, checking on the roses she had planted in January. They were thriving, healthy green leaves promising beautiful blooms in the coming weeks. She found gardening meditative, the act of nurturing life from soil oddly healing. Her business had grown steadily over the past months. She now had 7 regular clients and had hired a part-time assistant to help with administrative work. The income wasn't quite at her old salary level yet, but it was close, and the freedom was worth more than money. One morning she received an email that made her gasp. A prestigious design firm in the city wanted to commission her for a major branding project. The kind of opportunity that could launch her business to the next level. "This is huge," she told Renee over the phone. "This could change everything. You're going to nail it. You've worked so hard for this." The project consumed her for weeks. Late nights perfecting mock-ups, endless revisions, presentations to the client's team. It was challenging and exhilarating and exactly what she needed to prove to herself that she could compete at the highest level. When she finally presented the finished branding package, the client's response was immediate and enthusiastic. "This is exactly what we envisioned. Better, even. You've exceeded our expectations." The contract they offered was generous, with the promise of ongoing work. Nadia signed it with hands that barely trembled, containing her excitement until she was back in her car. Then she called Renee and screamed with joy. "I did it. I actually did it." "Of course you did. You're brilliant." That evening, Nadia celebrated alone in her house. She cooked herself a nice dinner, poured good wine, and sat on her back porch watching the sunset. A year ago, she would have wanted to share this moment with a partner. Now, she was perfectly content celebrating with herself. She had learned that happiness didn't require another person's presence. It came from within, from accomplishment and growth and self-respect. Everything else was just bonus. Jordan continued to be a steady presence in her life. They had been dating for 3 months now, taking things slow and building genuine friendship alongside romantic interest. He had met Renee and gotten her approval, which meant a lot. "He's good for you," Renee observed after dinner with the 3 of them. "Stable. Patient. Real." He is, Nadia agreed. Though I'm still careful. Still watching for red flags. That's smart. Trust but verify. Jordan never pushed for more commitment than Nadia was ready to give. They spent time together when it worked for both their schedules, maintained separate lives, enjoyed each other's company without pressure. It was healthy and balanced, and Nadia found herself slowly, cautiously, opening her heart again. One evening Jordan asked about her ex-husband. They were at his apartment, cooking dinner together, when he broached the subject carefully. You don't talk about him much. Your ex. I don't want to pry, but I also don't want to accidentally step on landmines. Nadia appreciated his directness. What do you want to know? Just the basics. What happened? How long ago? Are you fully moved on? She gave him the condensed version. The double life, the discovery, the divorce. Jordan listened without interrupting, his expression growing increasingly shocked. Wow. That's a lot to process. And you've healed from that. Mostly. I still have moments. But I'm not angry anymore. Just wary. I get that. For what it's worth, I have no interest in playing games or keeping secrets. What you see is what you get with me. I appreciate that. Though I'm sure my ex said the same thing once. Fair point. I guess I'll have to prove it through actions, not words. That conversation deepened their connection. Jordan understood her caution wasn't personal, was willing to earn her trust slowly. It made Nadia feel safe in a way she hadn't since before the betrayal. Her art continued to evolve. The painful, emotional pieces had given way to something brighter, more hopeful. Her new work celebrated resilience, growth, transformation. Galleries were interested, collectors were buying, and Nadia was being recognized as an emerging talent in the local art scene. One weekend, she was invited to give a talk at a community center about art as healing. She spoke about her journey, about using creativity to process trauma, about finding beauty in brokenness. The audience was engaged, asking thoughtful questions, thanking her for sharing her story. A young woman approached her afterward, eyes red from crying. Thank you. My husband just left me for someone else and I've been drowning. Hearing that you came through something similar and built this beautiful life, it gives me hope. Nadia gave her a hug. It gets better. I promise. It doesn't feel like it now, but you will survive this. And you'll be stronger for it. How long does it take? The healing? Everyone's different. But for me, about a year before I felt like myself again. And even longer to feel like an improved version of myself. Sharing her story felt good. Helping others who were where she had been, offering hope and proof that survival was possible. It added meaning to her suffering, made it feel less pointless. Nadia's relationship with her work-life balance improved too. She was better about setting boundaries, taking breaks, not working late every night. She made time for yoga classes, for reading, for long walks. Self-care wasn't selfish, it was necessary. She reconnected with her extended family too. Her aunt, her mother's sister, had been supportive during the divorce, but Nadia had kept her at a distance while healing. Now she visited regularly, sharing meals and memories of her mother. Your mom would be so proud of how you handled everything, her aunt told her during one visit. She raised you to be strong, independent, to never let a man define your worth. I wish she could see what I've built. She does. I believe that. And she's smiling. One Thursday at her art group, Tasha mentioned a gallery opening downtown. You should submit something. They're looking for pieces about transformation. Nadia submitted 3 paintings from her healing series. A week later, all 3 were accepted for the show. Opening night was set for next month. This is a big deal, Tasha emphasized. This gallery gets real attention. Critics come. Collectors. This could launch your art career. Nadia felt nervous and excited in equal measure. Her business was thriving, but art had become deeply personal. Exposing her work, her heart, to critical eyes felt vulnerable. Jordan offered to come to the opening with her. Moral support. Plus, I want to see you in your element. You don't have to. I want to. This is important to you, which makes it important to me. Opening night arrived too fast and too slow simultaneously. Nadia dressed in a green dress that made her feel confident and powerful. She arrived at the gallery early to see her paintings on the walls, 3 pieces displayed together under the title Phoenix Rising. The gallery filled with people. Critics, collectors, fellow artists, friends. Renee came with her husband. Leslie from next door stopped by. Jordan stood by her side, proud and supportive. A woman in an elegant suit approached Nadia. Are you the artist? These pieces are extraordinary. The emotion, the journey they tell. I'm a collector and I'd like to purchase all 3 as a set. All three. Yes, they belong together. The transformation story needs to be complete. Nadia named her price, expecting negotiation. The woman agreed immediately and handed over a business card. I'll have my people contact you for the transaction. Stunning work. After she walked away, Nadia stood stunned. She had just sold 3 paintings in one go for more money than she had expected to make from the entire show. Jordan hugged her. You did it. You're officially a successful artist. That night felt like a culmination of everything she had worked toward. Professional success in both business and art. Genuine friendships. A healthy relationship built on honesty. A home that was her sanctuary. Standing in the gallery, surrounded by people celebrating her work, Nadia realized she wasn't just surviving her divorce anymore. She was thriving beyond it. Building a life so much richer and more authentic than anything she had known before. The betrayal had destroyed her old life. But from that destruction she had created something beautiful. Something real. Something entirely hers. And that was the best revenge of all. 1 year exactly from the night Simone called, Nadia stood in her backyard hosting a gathering. Friends, colleagues, fellow artists filled her garden, laughing and talking as spring sunshine warmed the afternoon. She had titled it simply, A Celebration, but everyone there understood it was marking her journey from devastation to reconstruction. Renee raised a glass for a toast. To Nadia, the strongest person I know, who took the worst situation and turned it into fuel for becoming the best version of herself. We're all lucky to witness it. Everyone cheered. Nadia felt her eyes prick with tears but blinked them away. Happy tears. Grateful tears. Not the tears of the broken woman she had been. Jordan stood beside her, his hand resting comfortably on the small of her back. They had been together for 6 months now, still taking things slow but building something solid. He met her eyes and smiled, pride clear in his expression. Speech. Someone called out. Others echoed the request. Nadia hadn't planned to speak but found words flowing naturally. A year ago I got a phone call that destroyed my entire world. Everything I thought I knew, everything I believed in shattered in one conversation. I won't lie and say it was easy recovering from that. It wasn't. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. She looked around at the faces watching her, people who had supported her journey. But I learned something important. Betrayal reveals truth. And truth, even when it's painful, is always better than living a lie. My ex-husband did me a favor, though he didn't mean to. He forced me to confront who I really am without him. And I discovered I'm stronger, more capable, more creative than I ever knew. Pausing, Nadia gestured at her house, her garden, the gathered friends. This life I have now? It's mine. Completely and authentically mine. Built on truth, hard work, and the support of people who genuinely care about me. That's worth more than any false comfort I had before. You earned every bit of it, Patricia called out. Terrence's mother had driven up for the gathering, continuing her friendship with Nadia despite the awkwardness of her son being the villain of the story. I did earn it, Nadia agreed, no false modesty. I put in the work, the therapy, the late nights building my business, the painful process of trusting again. Every single step was a choice to move forward instead of staying stuck. After the toast, people mingled through the house and garden. Nadia had transformed both spaces completely. The interior was bright and artistic, her paintings on every wall. The garden was lush with vegetables and flowers she had planted and tended herself. Evidence of growth everywhere. Leslie from next door pulled her aside. This is inspiring. Seriously. I've been in a rough patch with my husband and seeing how you rebuilt after something so devastating gives me hope. Are you okay? Do you need anything? We're working through it. Nothing like what you went through. But having you as an example of resilience, it helps. Later, as the party wound down, Jordan helped Nadia clean up. They worked together easily, comfortable silence punctuated by occasional conversation. You seem different today, Jordan observed. More settled somehow. I feel different. Like I finally closed that chapter completely. Nadia dried the last dish. For so long, even while healing, part of me was still defined by what happened. The betrayed wife. The divorced woman. Today feels like I'm just Nadia. Artist, business owner, friend. The divorce is part of my story, but it's not my whole story anymore. I love that for you. Jordan pulled her into a hug. You've worked so hard to get here. I did. And I'm proud of myself. Saying it out loud felt good. Not arrogant, just honest acknowledgement of her own strength. That night, after Jordan left and her house was quiet again, Nadia walked through each room. Everything here reflected her choices, her taste, her values. The furniture she picked. The colors she loved. The art she created. In her bedroom, she looked at the two paintings hanging opposite each other. Unraveling and Liberation. The journey captured in art. She had thought about taking them down now that she felt fully healed, but decided to keep them. Reminders of where she had been and how far she had come. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. For a moment, her heart jumped, old anxiety surfacing. But when she opened it, the message was professional. Ms. Wilson, this is Robert Chin from Chin Gallery in New York. We saw your work at the recent show and are very interested in representing you. Would you be available for a call tomorrow to discuss? New York. A major gallery. Interest in her work on a national level. Nadia read the message 3 times, making sure it was real. Then she texted back confirming her availability and put the phone down with shaking hands. This was it. The moment when everything she had built started reaching beyond her city, her community. Real recognition for her art. She sat on her bed processing. A year ago she had been curled up in this same spot, devastated and lost. Now she was getting offers from New York galleries. Running a successful design business. In a healthy relationship. Surrounded by genuine friends. The transformation was complete. The next morning, Nadia woke early and went for a run. She had taken up running 6 months ago, finding that the physical exertion helped clear her mind. As she jogged through her neighborhood in the cool morning air, she thought about her conversation with the New York gallery later that day. She wasn't nervous. Whatever they offered, she could handle it. She had proof now that she could handle anything. After her run, Nadia showered and made herself breakfast. She ate slowly, enjoying the quiet morning. No rush. No stress. Just peaceful routine. At 10 her phone rang. Robert Chin from the gallery, right on time. They talked for an hour. He explained that several collectors had asked about her work after the show. The gallery wanted to feature her in a group exhibition this fall, with the possibility of a solo show next year if sales were strong. Your work has a story, Robert explained. People connect with that. The emotional journey, the transformation. It's powerful. Nadia negotiated terms, asked questions, made sure she understood the contract fully. She had learned not to sign anything without careful consideration. By the end of the call, she had agreed to the group show with favorable terms that protected her interests. After hanging up, she sat in stunned silence. Then she called Renee. I'm going to be in a show in New York. Renee screamed so loud Nadia had to hold the phone away from her ear. They talked for 20 minutes, Renee gushing with pride and excitement. You have to let me come to the opening. I want to see you celebrated in New York. Obviously you're coming. I wouldn't do it without you there. Next she called Patricia, who cried with happiness. Your mother would be so proud. This is everything you deserve. Thank you for staying in my life even after everything with Terrence. Your support meant a lot. Your family, honey. That doesn't change because my son made terrible choices. Nadia spent the rest of the day working on client projects and preparing pieces for the New York show. She was in flow, creativity pouring out effortlessly. This was what she was meant to do. This was who she was supposed to be. That evening, Jordan came over for dinner. She told him about the gallery opportunity. That's amazing. You're going to take over the art world. He kissed her forehead. I'm so proud of you. It's surreal. A year ago I was in pieces. Now this. You earned it. Every bit of success you're having you worked for. They cooked together, ate on the back porch as the sun set, talked about the future. Jordan mentioned that his lease was up in 3 months and he was considering buying a place. I don't want to rush anything, he said carefully. But I wanted you to know I'm thinking long-term. About us. About building something real. Nadia's first instinct was panic. Long-term. Commitment. The words triggered old fears. But she pushed past the anxiety and really looked at Jordan. He had been nothing but honest, patient, kind. He had earned her trust through consistent actions over months. I'm thinking long-term too, she said slowly. Though I need to take it step by step. Make sure we're building on solid ground. That's all I want. Solid ground. No games. No secrets. Just 2 people choosing each other every day. I can do that. And she meant it. Over the following weeks, Nadia prepared for New York. She selected her best pieces, worked with the gallery on logistics, prepared her artist statement. It consumed her in the best possible way. She also made time for the people in her life. Dinners with Renee. Art group meetings. Dates with Jordan. Garden work with Leslie. Balance had become important to her. Work was fulfilling but relationships mattered too. One afternoon, her phone rang from an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Nadia? It's Gloria. Simone's mother. Nadia tensed. She hadn't heard from Gloria in months. Is everything okay? Yes, fine. I'm calling because Simone wanted me to reach out. She heard about your success, saw an article about your upcoming show in New York. She wanted to congratulate you. That's kind of her. She also wanted me to tell you something. She's doing well. She went back to school, got a degree in counseling. She's working with people who've experienced betrayal and trauma, helping them heal. Nadia felt unexpected emotion rise in her chest. Simone had taken her pain and transformed it into purpose, just like Nadia had done with her art. That's wonderful. Tell her I'm happy for her. She also wanted you to know that she's grateful for your strength during everything, for not blaming her. She said watching you rebuild from a distance gave her courage to do the same. We both survived. That's what matters. It is. Take care, Nadia. And congratulations on everything you've accomplished. After hanging up, Nadia sat with the information. She and Simone had been victims of the same man's lies, had chosen different paths through healing, and both had found their way to solid ground. There was something poetic about that. She didn't need to be friends with Simone. Didn't need to compare experiences or commiserate. But knowing they had both survived, both thrived, felt like closing a circle. The day before leaving for New York, Nadia walked through her house one final time. Every corner held memories of her reconstruction. The office where she built her business. The bedroom where she cried and healed. The kitchen where she learned to cook for one. The garden where she planted growth. This house had witnessed her transformation from broken to whole. It would always hold that significance. At the airport the next day, Renee met her at the gate. Jordan had wanted to come too but had a work commitment he couldn't move. He had sent flowers to her hotel room with a card that read, "Knock them dead. You're incredible." The New York show was everything Nadia hoped for. Her work was displayed beautifully, critics praised it, collectors bought pieces. Robert Chin introduced her to influential people in the art world. Doors were opening. Standing in that Manhattan gallery, champagne in hand, surrounded by people celebrating her work, Nadia had a moment of clarity. This was redemption. Not revenge against Terrence, but proof that she had risen above what he tried to reduce her to. He had wanted to break her. Instead, he had freed her to become who she was always meant to be. That was the final victory. Not his destruction, but her resurrection. Flying home 2 days later, Nadia looked out the airplane window at clouds stretching endlessly below. She thought about the journey from that 2 a.m. phone call to this moment. The devastation. The anger. The healing. The growth. Every painful step had been necessary. Every tear had watered seeds of strength. Every moment of wanting to give up had taught her she was stronger than her circumstances. She was no longer defined by what happened to her. She was defined by what she did with it. When the plane landed, Jordan was waiting at arrivals with flowers. He hugged her tight. How was it? Perfect. Better than I dreamed. She kissed him. Let's go home. Home. Her sanctuary. Her space. Her life reclaimed and rebuilt. Exactly as it should be.